Well, good evening, everyone. It is 5:30, so it's time to call the meeting of the Columbia Gateway Urban Renewal Agency Board to order. Paula, I'd ask you to conduct roll call.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
Right. Diana Bailey, absent. Stacy Coburn,
Present.
Tracy Duchek,
Here.
Harry Grossman,
Present.
John Frederick,
Present.
Darcy Long,
Present.
Tim McLaughlin,
Present.
Dan Richardson is absent, and Kathy Schwartz is absent.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Now, if you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I always have been tempted for most of my 70 years to end it like a Boy Scout. There was a certain way you dismissed the Pledge of Allegiance, but not part of our agenda tonight. Next up, we have approval of the agenda. I know a lot of you got it a little late. We have been hit with a number of things in the community development department that's caused things to be not as orderly as we normally are. But I would entertain any additions, corrections to the agenda, or a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. This is Stacy.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by our typical thumbs up. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You also got the minutes of the September 21st meeting. Again, additions, corrections, or a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as approved as presented.
Does John have a second?
McLaughlin will second.
Thank you, Tim. Those in favor of the motion signify by thumbs up. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now at this time is time for public comment from any members of the public. Todd Carpenter will be joining us later to give us an update on his project. So he is the only member of the public that I see. So we'll move on to the action item that we have tonight. Largely a formality, but I'll turn it over to Alice for explanation.
Chair Grossman and members of the board, thank you. Again, my apologies about getting the packet out late. You received it, the public received it. It was posted in all the proper places. You just didn't get that email from me. So you got it today. Thank you for that. And this is largely a formality. The city's purchasing rules and urban renewal purchasing rules cap the authority, my contract authority, at $50,000. So we have extended this contract. This will now be the second time. And I would like to ask the board to authorize the URA manager, that would be me, to sign amendment number 2 to the personal services agreement with HDR Engineering to continue providing project management services for the First Street Streetscape project. And I will tell you that I have really benefited a lot. Our program has benefited a lot having a professional project manager in place to help us be that go-between between the consulting designer, which is KPFF, and ODOT, which is providing a significant chunk of grant funding for this project. So this has been a huge help to me, has helped keep the project on track. And those engineers talk in a language that is often better to have the technicians talking to one another. So this is a huge help, and I would really strongly recommend that you authorize me to sign this contract amendment.
Thank you, Alice. We have any input? We have input from my dogs. Any questions or input concerning this? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the extension of the contract.
Was that your dog making a motion, Gary?
Yeah, they're always making a motion, Kathy.
I will make a motion to, where are we? Authorize the URA manager to sign amendment number 2 to the personal services agreement with HDR Engineering Incorporated to continue providing project management services for the First Street Streetscape project.
I'll second. That's Tracy.
Tracy seconds. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of the motion signify by the typical thumbs up. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So with that, we have dispensed of our action item for tonight. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Alice for some updates along with some input from Todd Carpenter.
I think I'm not going to go in order tonight. I'd like to save the Todd's report for last, and we are going to try to keep this relatively quick and just give you the high level update on the projects. The Tony's building, we are making a lot of really good progress on that environmental assessment grant. We have received the grant. We have finished phase 1, the phase 1 step. We will then be proceeding to the archaeological as well as the asbestos piece of this. So that's coming up next. I'm just so impressed with how fast everything is moving. I didn't expect that. So it's one of those times when things are moving at a pace that you'd all be proud of. I was fearful that this was going to take longer than I had hoped. So things are moving along very well with that. Happy to answer any questions you might have about that project. Okay. First Street, that one is moving along. It continues to be on target for construction in summer of 2023. We did finish some work. I have a report back which documents the field visit that occurred. It may have occurred the day of or a day prior to your last meeting, where we had some engineers out to look on private property to look inside the buildings and to look at the wall, the basalt wall that's under the First Street between Union and Washington Streets. And we have the report back. The report will be then submitted to ODOT next. I have had a number of conversations with both ODOT, Oregon Department of Transportation, and the Baldwin Saloon owner. There are some, particularly on that property and maybe a couple of other properties, there are encroachments, existing encroachments in the right-of-way with the ramp and the stairs on the Baldwin Saloon property that is in the right-of-way that predates us having an official license for them to be in the right-of-way. So we have to sort through some property issues on that. I anticipate we'll have those all solved, but I'm having to do some problem solving with that and a couple of other properties. So everything's moving along at the pace that we had hoped. And I'll know more as to whether the next milestone for us is to determine if the Oregon Department of Transportation and the project overall will require us to do additional historical analysis to preserve the wall in greater, there's a rule called Section 106, and that requires that we preserve historic resources. And if we trigger something, and this is why I would have my project manager here, but if we trigger a section 106 review, that will require some additional work on our part. So that is the milestone. We're hoping to get past that so that there will be a finding that we're protecting the wall adequately, and we don't need to do additional review to ensure that. So that's the next milestone. That's probably as much of the weeds as you need to hear about. The one thing I did want to talk about that relates to the First Street project is an idea that's been circulating around in my mind for a few months. And that is we have a really unique opportunity to preserve and incorporate historical elements into our project. And one affordable way that we can do that is by creating some concrete stamps in the concrete and to highlight bits of history in the Dalles. And I've seen other projects do this. We have an incredible resource in that we had Chinatown. We had a section of Chinatown on First Street between Court and Washington Streets. And I am considering pulling together some citizens that would include the Eric Gleason and his partner, as well as Marilyn Ernest. And I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but there is a staff representative from the Discovery Center that I'd like to include, and to get some of their good consultation to make sure that we are historically correct in the ways that we choose to highlight the history in this section of the concrete. So I just wanted to get kind of a nod from you that you're okay with us moving forward with this project element, and hear any comments or comments that you might have about that idea before I move forward.
Any comments or questions for Alice? I think it's a great idea. I mean, if it's doing something to memorialize that part of the Dalles history, makes good sense, and having the right people involved and making sure it's historically correct is really critical.
We have this book. I thought I'd explain why I would involve Marilyn Ernest. She wrote this book, and that it's the Chinatown, the Dalles, Oregon, 1860 to 1930. And I was able to pick that up at Clint's. And I was just impressed that we have a book on that topic in our bookstore, and we had the author right here in our midst. So that was something, we have a resource there.
So do we have a consensus on allowing or having Alice move ahead with this process? I'm certainly in support of. If you are, let us know.
Thank you all.
Proceed.
We'll keep you posted. All right. The other project, urban renewal incentives. I have not started that project yet, but that's next up. In the next couple of months, I will be reviewing those. In the meantime, though, there's been the reason why it's becoming a front burner project is I have one or two property owners who are actively talking to me about developing their properties with residential units or mixed use, ground floor, commercial or retail with the units up above. So I'm excited about these opportunities, and one of the developers has asked specifically for some incentives. And so it isn't property that we own, so there is no reason for us to go into a development and disposition agreement. But more importantly, it's an opportunity for us to publicly discuss some incentive programs that we would offer not only to this property owner, but to all property owners in the Dalles, in the URA, provided that they meet certain conditions. So with that, I would, somebody told me the name of the person at Discovery Center. That's Sue. How do you say that last name, Todd? Busey?
Booth.
Busey.
Sue Booth. Is it? I think it's Booth, but yeah, maybe Busey. I don't know.
Okay. Sorry, I got myself distracted. Anyway, there is good reason to have the incentive programs reviewed and to get that, turn that into a higher priority than it has been for me, because there is developer interest in the URA. So that's exciting. So I would say I'll be back in front of you in the next month or two with that. And with that, I have been really excited because I live part-time in downtown The Dalles, and I'm able to see every day the progress that is made, that Mr. Carpenter, Ms. McQuaid are making on the rec building, the recreation building. And last month at this time, I think I was giving you an update that we had that the team was starting to remove the plywood from the front of the building and we had a big cement mixer out there, and they were pouring concrete and using a crane to place some structural steel. And now we see that there are windows installed and nice new siding on the front. And then the inside, Todd told me that he got approval from the building department, the Wasco County Building Department, to move ahead with the next phase, which would be to cover up the framing. Is that correct? So I'm going to turn it over to Todd. He has better details than I do, but I am just so pleased with the progress we've made on that project.
Hi, everybody. Paula, do I need to give my name and address? Todd Carpenter, 216 East 5th Street, if you're there. Yeah, so we've made a lot of progress, finally visible progress. Everything seems to have been in the background. There was a lot of structural work that needed to be done in both those buildings, and it will be the same thing with the bowling side. But what we're doing right now, actually we got plumbing rough and full cover today. So the only thing left that we need for cover, the only thing we can't cover right now is the interior front wall, and that's just an insulation inspection, which will be done Thursday. Hopefully they'll give us cover on that. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. They've been pretty good with us and kind of gave me some tips on what to do before we went for it. So we'll hopefully have full cover on Thursday, and then we'll just be basically starting to put everything back together. I don't know how many of you know this, but we took all the rafters from the west side building and we split them. We saw cut them. I saw that happening in the front. So we saw cut everything. We did a rough plane on them, and last night we loaded them all up, about 24,000 pounds to go to Portland. So they'll get finished planed, and then they're going to get tongue and groove, and we're going to basically use all the rafters for flooring for the ice cream candy shop, the middle building. And then plumbing rough, like I said, got done today. So we'll be finishing the downstairs bathrooms. We'll be finishing the upstairs bathrooms. Basically, we'll be painting, sheetrocking the items that need to be sheetrocked inside next couple of weeks. We are waiting for some windows still. We had to build everything from scratch, frames and all for the windows. We basically ended up just ordering all the glass and then building them in place. So we're waiting for some glass for the upper windows above the middle building. Carla ordered some old-fashioned square blocks for that area, so that's going to look kind of cool. So we're going to get those hopefully by the end of this week, and we'll be working on that, and hopefully we can finish that front up. And then Carla's got her paint colors, historic paint colors picked out for the front, and we're ordering that tomorrow. And so as soon as we get those windows in and we get that thing done, we'll be able to start painting. The next couple of weeks is interior, exterior doors, finishing those, the floorings, the bathroom, and then we've capped all the sprinkler systems and fixed all the sprinkler systems in the two east buildings. We have to cap the west side that crumbled in the within the roof collapse. And once we cap those, then we're going to call for an inspection. And the very last thing will be, fire, flight, and safety with the fire marshal, Jay. I think it's Jay Wood. I called him yesterday and asked him to meet with me. I haven't heard back yet, but hopefully he'll be able to do that. And then that's pretty much it on the two east buildings. We'll be ready for occupancy and ready for tenant improvements. And Carla will start moving in and putting her shop together in the middle building. And then we'll kind of work with somebody, Main Street or Rehab or somebody I'd like to really do something that's community friendly on that east far east building, maybe a Made in the Gorge store, Made in the Dalles store, something like that, something we could use for boat docks and things like that. So we'll try to work with somebody on kind of a break even on that and just give it to them at a discount. So that's kind of the plan for that. So that's the progress on that. The bowling alley side, we're a little late on engineering drawing set. We were supposed to have that by end of September. I just got an email today that said the engineer is about a week to maybe 2 weeks behind from today. So I guess we're looking at end of October for that. I am asking the state of Oregon for in case weather hits and we aren't able to, to get in there and do the structural stuff on that west building. I have asked the state of Oregon for an extension on the grant. We actually are spending way more than we ever thought we were going to spend on the two west side or the two east side buildings. So the grant money is pretty much sucked up anyways. I mean, I could probably I have asked them to consider either extending it, increasing it, or restructuring it so that we could just get paid out and we'll just finish the third building, ourselves. So that's kind of, but in case we hit weather, I really want to finish it before I've got a big event planned, and I'm planning a big event with a bunch of business owners in April with the chamber, kind of a South by Southwest music festival. So we'd really like to get the thing open by March, April. So it kind of fits with the grant anyways, but I'm just a little concerned with weather. So I'll take any questions.
Kathy,
Todd, when do you expect that the first place will open up, do you think?
Well, so I think Carla's worried about supply chain for for some of the equipment that she's buying. She's bought a lot of stuff, but she's still looking for, for the ice cream, I don't know, the display cases or whatever they're called. I would like to see her open it up this year. That would be my preference, but I'm not sure that she's going to be able to open the retail space before next year. I don't have a timeline on the tenant space. And as far as the other space, we could open it as soon as we get somebody in there that wants to run a business. I'm happy to do whatever to make that happen. Both places will be ready to go. So, and Carla's got some good plans. She's actually, I just hauled a kids karaoke machine from Last Stop that came in UPS yesterday. She got one of those. She's going to do kids karaoke in the back, and she's got some kind of fun things planned for the community for the back of the ice cream candy shop. And I think we're going to do something, also something family friendly downstairs as well. So that's going to be exciting. But sorry, no, I don't have a time frame on opening yet. I'm hoping, the buildings can go back on the tax roll as soon as we get, whenever you guys want, really. We're pretty much, we're 70, 80% complete, maybe more than that. So yeah, but as far as I can see, sorry, I don't know that yet. Retail opening. It's not my business. It's not going to be my business. She won't let me.
Spring.
Yeah.
That's spring of 2022.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Spring. I hope it's going to be before that. But yeah, she told me I can't be involved in her business.
Well, I would think it would be great if she could capitalize as soon as the cruise ships are sailing again in the spring. That'd be nice to have that business open for people. So
I think her and her daughter are going to finalize that here pretty soon. So maybe next month I can report on that for you.
I have a question. Hi, Todd. Kathy
Hi.
Short. Hi. I get a lot of questions from the community about what's happening, and I'm getting like bits and pieces, but now that you're here, it's great to be able to say, okay, what I understand is there going to be an ice cream candy shop, maybe another shop. We don't know exactly what yet. And is there another space yet that is not spoken for? And where's the bowling alley?
Yeah, so the bowling alley so there's 3 buildings. that we're in the middle building, the old Horn Saloon, is the ice cream candy shop. So that the street level will be the ice cream candy shop. Well, and she's doing an old fashioned, ice cream candy shop. It's a big space, so there's a lot of space upstairs to do some other things there for the community too. Like I said, kids events and things like that. The east side next to the Granada is the old Dam Bar. That's where the Dam Sports Bar was. That will be a retail space, and I would like to just rent that out for, like I said, just rent it out for a break even on taxes, to maybe like a Made in the Dalles store, or maybe a co-op. I don't want to run another business in there, but I just kind of want to allow some. So when we had a retail space in Last Stop for a little while, there was a lot of small local artists and crafters who made and sold products. And that would be really cool to have somebody start a, sort of a co-op or something like that, like they've done in Hood River, and just basically rent and run that space for that. So I'm open to anybody coming in there, and I'd help them, set it up or do whatever. I've got all kinds of ideas, but I'm sure somebody can figure something out. So it'll be I'm not sure what the taxes are going to be yet for all three places, but I figured we'd just figure out what the taxes are on that, what the operating costs are, and just rent it for basically a break even, so we can kind of give back to the community and allow somebody who can't afford space like that to, be able to rent it out. And then downstairs on those two buildings, the basement, there was an old archery range on the east side. Because of ingress, egress, and new, firefight life and safety, we can only use that downstairs east side for storage space. So it can't be anything, unfortunately. The middle, downstairs below in the Horn Saloon, below the ice cream candy shop, that is usable space. And again, that's going to be Carla's business. But I think she's going to do something for kids down there. So I don't know if it'll be an arcade. I don't know what she's going to do down there yet. I told her she ought to do some billiards. There was an old billiards and ice cream shop down there in that building, I think, or one of those buildings down there originally. But again, I gotta stay out of her business. And then upstairs, we're not doing anything upstairs, but my plan for upstairs in that same building, that building is actually 3 floors, is a living space upstairs in that upstairs area. But that will be vacant because we're going to just pivot and move straight over to the bowling alley side. So the west side, the bowling alley side, is the west side building, which isn't being touched right now. And I posted some pictures. I think I posted them in my report. You might have seen them. But so we're going to build out the street frontage, just similar to what we've done here on the 2 east buildings. And then so you'll walk in. There'll be a small inside area. It's about 30 to 40 feet deep by the width of the building, which is about 75. I think it's 75 feet long, or maybe it's 100 feet. 70. I think it's 75 feet long. So it'll be about 2,000 square feet, maybe a little less than that. It'll have an area that will be completely enclosed. We're going to do some roll-up garage doors on the back side. And then the back will be completely open all the way to the back with outdoor fire pits and tables with gas fire pits and things like that. And then we'll have an event area, a stage, and a big stage for events and things like that for gathering spot. The facility can hold by weight 800 people. I don't know if we can get 800 people in there, but that's what it's been, what it will be. What it'll be a set for. So on that space, on that top floor. Then the bottom floor is also, so there was 10 lanes of bowling on the top. There were 6 lanes of bowling on the bottom. The bottom will be a family-friendly recreation facility. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, if there's going to be any bowling or what the configuration is going to be, because it's all going to depend on the engineers. Again, we had to do a ton of structural integrity stuff on the 2 east side, and we're going to have to do the same thing on the west side. And I think we're going to lose some of the space that would be, probably some of the space because of load-bearing walls and things like that we got to do. We may not have enough to do any kind of bowling, but maybe again, some kind of, indoor family fun center kind of thing, maybe. I don't know, I was thinking go-karts, but putt golf or arcade or go-karts, or it's going to depend on what the space looks like afterwards. So, and we'll run that facility in conjunction with I've been talking to the musicians in town about this whole South by Southwest style. I don't know if you guys know what South by Southwest is, but down in Texas they do a big music event thing once a year, and we're thinking about doing something. Some of the venue owners and myself are thinking about doing some kind of South by Southwest style 2 events a year, where we just basically invite musicians and artists into town and kind of sell. So the musicians have put together this little music city idea, and they're structuring it formally. And they would I told them, shoot, if they want to run the music things, we'll just give them the space and let them go with it, sell tickets and things like that, and let them just kind of plan their own events, because we'll sell food and beverage, for the events, and they can do whatever they need to do for tickets and ticket sales and things like that. And I actually just today, Steve Kane and I and a couple other owners all said, hey, we'll do that all across town for this event. So we'll just let the musicians come in, let them set up the whole thing. We'll give them the space, we'll section it off just for their events, and we'll sell food and beverage and kind of call it good. So that's kind of for a travel tourism thing. I think that space is going to be pretty cool.
I do have one more question. So
Yeah,
Todd, you referenced a grant from the state of Oregon. What exactly was that grant?
That was the Diamonds in the Rough grant by the Historical Preservation, Main Street Historical Preservation grant, I think. We asked for 3 street front, and that's the reason we're doing a street frontage, historical street frontage kind of on all 3 buildings, because they authorized 3. That grant is for 3 street revitalization for 3 storefronts. So that's what it's for. And it was I mean, it's public record. It was $200,000. So it was a really nice big grant. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chair, that concludes my presentation about project updates. So thank you for your time. Todd, Mr. Carpenter did mention that there was a written report. I didn't get it into the packet, so I will email that to you after this. I've appreciated 2 months in a row now. He's provided a very detailed report with pictures and everything. So I had meant to get that out to you ahead, but I didn't. So you'll get to see it. If you have any follow-up questions after reviewing that, feel free to forward those over to me and we'll get those answered for you.
Okay, well, let's move on to the evening's discussion about on strategic planning. Gallus has an overview plan for this evening, so we'll turn it over to her.
Chair Grossman, members of the committee of the board, I'm going to share my screen here and share a PowerPoint. And let's get this show going. All right. So you have in front of you a PowerPoint, and this is the beginning of our strategic planning process. I think I had talked about having it our effort over 3 months. I may extend it a little bit longer. The intent is to share information. The intent for tonight is to share background information with all of you about what's in our actual plan. And I'll get into the details as we proceed here, but it's important for you to have this as a good foundation as you start your strategic planning effort. So the order of things we had talked about tonight, there will be an overview of the urban renewal plan. I want to move into the next month, providing a report card, which would be, here's what we've accomplished in our plan. And then after that, we would have what I hope will be a very rich discussion about an update, well, you'll have the information tonight on where we are with our finances, but what are your priorities, given what we have and have not yet accomplished in our plan? What are your priorities for the next about 10 years and about $10 million? So with that, and then after that, we'll conclude it with, I hope the final month will be an adoption where you will take the plan and adopt it and make it your own. So with that, I'm going to move to the next slide. So the plan itself, to have an urban renewal agency, you have to have a plan and you have to have some land area that you want to improve and a few other things. And we're going to go over what's in our plan tonight. So this is our land area. You see highlighted in the orange there, about a little bit over 300 acres, and it includes most of, well, all of the downtown, and then some properties under the freeway, extending on the north or the east, excuse me, the west side of the Dalles, on the other side of I-84. We can go back to this map at any point in the presentation. So you'll see the arrow there is where City Hall is located generally. Next slide includes the kind of at the 30,000 foot level. We've been doing urban renewal now for over 30 years. The original plan was adopted in 1990. We did a substantial amendment to the plan in 1999 that set a maximum indebtedness amount. The total amount that we can spend is 14.23 million as of 1999. And in 2009, we did another substantial amendment to increase that amount to $29.13 million. The plan has since been amended 16 times between 1990 and 2018. And I've highlighted all of these on the presentation. And I'm happy to go through these individual amendments with you. It's in the plan itself. So if you were to go to the very back, you'll see that those actual resolutions are included, especially from amendment 11 through 16. All of those are minor amendments, and they mostly are to add projects to the plan. And I'm happy to answer those questions if you have them, but this is a high level. It's important for you to know that it's been amended a number of times, and it's also important for you to know it's been amended substantially twice. There are two sets of state laws. We have state law governs how you amend your plan, and substantial amendments require a lot more steps, and then the minor amendments are fewer steps. So we did this financial snapshot update in January, and this was the result. It was that we are allowed, we have a maximum indebtedness of 29.12 million. We have used approximately 23 million. We have some additional debt capacity or maximum indebtedness of 6.25, and we have a cash balance as of January of 3.78 million. So in rough terms, we have about 10 million left remaining, and our final debt is due 2029. So that's the date by which we believe things will be wrapped up. If you might recall, some of you may recall that we had our financial consultant told us that we may, if we kind of move at the pace that he projects with our projects, that we may be done with, we may have spent the funds by anywhere between 27 and 2029. But the final debt payments will be due. So we may be done with a lot of the project work sooner than that, but our final debt is due in 2029. Happy to answer any questions you have about that. I think it's important that we really highlight, and I actually want to read this. I read this at the budget committee meeting. I want to read it again tonight because this is why we're here. The mission of our urban renewal agency is to eliminate blight and depreciating property values within the agency jurisdiction and boundary, and in the process attract aesthetically pleasing, job-producing private investments that will stabilize or increase property values and protect the area's historic places and values. So really the intent was I think back in the day, back in the early 90s or late 80s, people were starting to see some depreciation occurring in this area and wanted to use this tool as a way to increase private property values and bring jobs producing private investment to our area, and also protect the rich history that we have. So I had a hard time fitting this onto the slide. So you see I made a funny little map here, but this fits together really well. In the urban renewal plan, in any urban renewal plan in the state of Oregon, you will see these things. You will see the goals and objectives that guide what ends up on the urban renewal project list. And the project list, you can't do the project if it's not on the project list. So that's really, that fact is very important. Then the other detail is the financing and maximum indebtedness details in our plan. That takes up 1 or 2 pages. It's really, that's the area where it says the maximum indebtedness, or the total debt that we can take on, is 29.12 million. And then lastly, the last page or 2 of the plan include the procedures for amending the plan. So the different things that we have to do, and that is all consistent with state law. So what I want to do now, and this is a few slides of lists, but I do believe that this is very important, that you have this good foundation knowledge, so that as we talk about what we want to accomplish, you're always keeping in mind what the original goals of the plan were and are. So when people were developing this area, this is what they wanted to accomplish. They wanted to encourage public, that wasn't public involvement investments. They wanted to encourage public investments, take out that word, to increase the value of properties and place unused and underused properties into production. So kind of get those properties that need to be improved, to actually find some incentives that would encourage investment, both private and public investment in those properties, and to create programs that would encourage the expansion and development of jobs producing businesses in the area, increase property values to contribute to the overall growth of our public services that contribute, all the government agencies that provide services to this area, but to the entire city. And then also to conserve historically significant places and properties. So the next slide is basically, there was a mention of parking, to make sure that we have sufficient parking, adequate parking available to support the Urban Renewal Agency. There's a goal to link the downtown and the West Gateway areas. I mentioned the West Gateway area is the other side of I-84. We've done a lot of good investment already, and that's an accomplishment, to connect the riverfront, the downtown areas, with trails, public dock, and riverfront access. Assist with the rehabilitation of buildings through incentives and the work that Todd Carpenter is doing with redevelopment. Install coordinated lighting, landscaping, and street furniture. We have a lot of that coordination already on the 2nd Street project. We hope to continue that with 1st Street and other areas of town. Improve the street and utility infrastructure and install underground utilities in the alleys. It is very significant for you to remember. You don't see it, it's not going to be visible, but 1st Street is going to get all new utility lines. And there is some of the water lines there are over 100 years old. So it's a very significant improvement for our city to have that. And it's something that is made possible by leveraging with urban renewal to make that happen. And then importantly, that's what we've done on this 1st Street project, is we like to bring together funding sources from a variety of places, including the federal government. And so we have received grants from a variety of different places throughout the life of the agency, and the 1st Street project is one example of that. And so now I'm going to ask you, and I will actually share a different screen. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and bring up the actual pages 32 to 37 in the packet. I'm going to do that because I would like you to be familiar with what's on the project list. I would also love for you to help me. Maybe we can spend a minute or 2 together with each project, letting me know. You can provide a quick snapshot, those of you that have been around for a while, as to whether we've accomplished those projects. So it can be the beginning of what will become a report card. So I'm going to share a different screen. So let me do that. Oops. Okay, give me a quick minute. I will need to get out of something here. Okay, page 32. I just need to scroll and get there. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so let me. Okay, so this begins on page 32 with the project list, and it's saying that these projects are deemed necessary to fulfill our goals, eliminate blight, and so forth. So are you all seeing the screen that have the projects? Okay, sounds like, okay, good. So downtown streetscape improvements, that includes, in this case, it includes the areas in the central business commercial district. That's first, second, third, and fourth, and connecting side streets. So that would include all the things we're doing on First Street, new curbs, gutters, sidewalks, street lighting, and so forth. So I think we could say that we've accomplished that on Second Street. We hope to accomplish that on First Street. And there may be, as you develop your priorities, some push to do more on street improvements. So let's move to the second project, downtown riverfront access. This one, we have accomplished a lot in this area, in that the original idea was to have access tunnel under the railroad. That was taken out of our project, but the work that we've done with the commercial marine terminal dock and just adding all of the improvements that we've added along Union Street, right where Union Street intersects with First Street, there is just impressive. So I think that there's been a lot of accomplishment in that area. The grain elevator demolition. The idea at that time was to have the area where the winery, is this the Sunshine Winery? I'm going to be looking to some of you to put up your thumb if that's the case.
No, this is the grain elevator demolition was taken care of by a very large fire.
Okay. Okay, where was that located? Where was that?
It was down more in the port area. Actually, it was down where the dock is.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's great to have you here for background. Commodore building redevelopment, that has been accomplished. I think we're seeing that some of that investment is getting old, and the building is maybe not as nice repair as it could be. So we'll be continuing to work on that. We do have a loan that's outstanding with that property owner that will have a balloon payment due in 2026. So that's that project. The Pennies block redevelopment, that is the block that I know as a newcomer as the Discounts Plus block. And we have not demolished that building. It is in current use, and none of that has happened yet. The downtown parking structure and surface lots, we do not have a parking structure, and it's my professional opinion that we don't need one at this point in time, and it would be a very expensive investment to make for demand that isn't yet there. However, we do have some existing lots that we own along First Street that's accessible from the alley between Court and Washington Streets. And that, I think, will become valuable as redevelopment occurs on the blue building that sits at the corner of First and Washington. We talked to Mr. Zilka at the last meeting, and maybe if the Baldwin or Mr. Carpenter and others in that block want to invest more in their properties, there may be demand for us to improve those parking lots and make those a little bit more friendly and accessible in the future. Civic Auditorium remodel and reconstruction. This predates me, but there's been a lot of investment in this project. And I don't know if that one, if many would deem that complete. I think many would say, what say you, Chair Grossman?
We've completed the part that we committed to be involved in the last round of the remodel, which had to do with the theater. So right now, I would say, other than them approaching us again for something, we'd be done with that.
Okay. Okay, the Mill Creek Bridge reconstruction, West 6th Street. This would be, I don't know if this one's completed, but it is the Mill Creek Bridge reconstruction, consists of 2 phases. The first one's been completed. The second phase includes a complete restoration of the bridge in its original historic character, including sidewalks, railings, light standards, and deck. Does anybody know the status of that one? Okay, so I will check on the status of that. I'm guessing that second phase isn't yet complete. Otherwise, you would know about it, but I'll check. All right, Mill Creek Greenway property development. We are invested in this project. We do have the Parks and Recreation District did receive a sizable grant to construct that section of trail between the 6th Street Bridge and 2nd Street. And we are financial partners in that project, providing a match of up to $300,000. So very pleased with that grant award and progress that we hope to make on that project soon. The Gateway.
Ellis.
Go ahead.
Sorry, this is Dan Richardson. Would it be appropriate to ask Parks for a brief update on that project?
I will ask. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if Board Member Dujic wants to say anything about that, or we can wait till next month. If that's okay, I will wait till next month. We'll keep moving here. The Gateway project is West 2nd Street from Lincoln to the western boundary of the district. Street and property redevelopment, redesign and reconstruction, amended April, adding the skateboard park. So that would be the redevelopment of 2nd Street. Let's see, this involves, I don't think this one is complete. Do any of you have an idea about that?
The original plan for the West Gateway was actually going to end at about where the Chamber of Commerce was, and the last actual involvement had to do with the consideration of moving that down 2nd Street, potentially clear out to the overpass, which would go outside of the urban renewal area. But the West Gateway is something different today than it was when the agency was put into place.
Okay. Different project than original. Okay, thank you. All right. Number 11, redevelopment of the Armor property, Public Works site. This is property that sits on the south side of West 6th Street from Weber to Walnut. The current city public works site and yard would be relocated to another site. I think this is completed. West 6th Street. Yeah, it has been completed, I believe. No, I don't know. I'll check on that one. How about that? All right, Thompson Street Park sidewalk. This is a small project that includes natural rock retaining wall, sidewalk, and curb. It begins at the drive entrance to Thomas Park swimming pool and ends at the intersection with West 2nd and Cherry Heights. I think that has been completed, but I could check on that. Anybody have an update on that one?
I think that was completed, Alice.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just writing some notes. All right. Property rehab grant and loan fund program. We do have a number of incentive programs that are available in our district. I want, as I've mentioned to you before this year, I want to work on updating those to make sure that they're meeting the needs in the district. So I won't go through those because we'll be doing that later. Happy to answer any questions that you might have about that. Okay, number 14, redevelopment of the Wasco warehouse and milling company property, and involves purchase and may include the renovation and historic preservation of identified uses. Additional land will be acquired from ODOT and Union Pacific Railroad.
That's the Sunshine Mill.
Sunshine Mill. Okay, thank you. And that one we would say is completed, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, East Gateway Brewery Grade Street Reconstruction. That one's done. 3rd Street improvements. This is not completed, and I've heard at the Urban Renewal Board budget committee process, there is interest in maybe adding this to our list of priorities. Off and on, we've heard that. Redevelopment of properties located within, this is the areas that we've just been talking about, the properties that sit between Court Street and Washington and 1st and 2nd Streets. That's that whole block, and we've been focused a lot on that block and will continue to do so. The Thompson Street Pool Project is number 18. That one.
That's completed.
Completed, thank you. Okay, redevelopment of the Elks Lodge building. I think people would say that's been completed. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay, acquisition of real property. We have what this project gives us the ability to acquire property to meet urban renewal goals, and it gives us the guidelines or the rules by which we will acquire property. And it's saying here that we will acquire it from willing sellers. So I'm guessing that, yeah, this says does not authorize us to use eminent domain. And it also gives us some guidelines for land disposition. And then it also gives us some guidelines on relocation activities. That's pretty typical in most urban renewal plans. So I really tonight, I'm going to stop sharing here unless you, I can always go back to certain pages that you may want me to, but I mostly wanted you to be very familiar with what's in the plan. We can, like we've done before, we've amended our plan 16 different times. We can add projects, but it does require us to jump through some hoops to do so. And it's not to be taken lightly. I kind of take this urban renewal work personally because it's sort of, I think this plan in some ways is a bit of a promise that we're making to the taxpayers. I take it that way, that we're committing to the taxpayers that we're going to commit ourselves to these projects. If we keep adding to the list, it sort of dilutes our ability to complete everything on the list. Though the other side of that, however, is that we don't want to miss out on a very important opportunity that might become available within the life of the urban renewal plan. So there's a balancing act to do there. And we want to be able to, I think, deliver what we said we were going to do and deliver on the goals, but also deliver on that project list. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about, I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking, but I really found this to be helpful to me to understand a little bit more about what's in the plan and for you to give me some of the updates. Do you have any questions about anything that we've talked about?
No questions particularly from me, Alice, other than I think there are a number of the items on the list that need to be reviewed and changed, which may eliminate them. A good example is the downtown redevelopment. Once we get done with First Street, what happened during a long period of the agency, there was very little to no interest in doing Third Street for a couple of reasons: the need for an LID, the fact that the street looks entirely different than the rest of the other two streets. And then if we don't do Third Street, do we have something we want to do to Fourth Street? If not, then we'd have a completed project once we're done with First Street. So I think there may need to be, once we get anything that may be completed that we didn't note, or not completed that we thought we did, that we go back through each one of the remaining items if there's a lack of clarity, and make sure that we confirm the current plan.
I may be calling on some of you historians to help me with that. So be ready for my phone calls for those of you that have been around. And also some of those projects, for instance, President and Board Member Dujic, some of those might overlap into some of our districts. So I may be in touch with your Executive Director, Mr. Baker, and others just to get some of that history.
I just want to make a comment. We have a board meeting tomorrow night, and I think Scott will provide an update on the Mill Creek Greenway tomorrow night. So.
Great, thank you. Anything else from the group about this?
Yeah, I have a comment. This is Tim McLaughlin, and I experienced the aquatic center quite often last summer since the chlorine was not available for my pool. So I took the kids down, and what a great asset to our community, that facility. Also, the sidewalk has been completed on 2nd Street that goes around and neighbors the skate park.
Yeah.
So also West 6th Street Bridge, that was improved years ago, and it is it's a wonderful asset that driving across that bridge, and we're working to maintain by painting the rails and improving that area. So those things have been done.
Thank you.
And there are other, the grain elevators, as I recall, was on the site where Lewis and Clark Park is now located, or much of that area. And it was a fire that took that early in the morning.
You're correct, Tim. What's still remaining that we see are the supports for the pier that connected to the grain elevators.
Actually, that was accessed not from this side, but you had to go all the way down and then come back to get to that. And early when I first arrived in the 70s, that was kind of a point to go out and take a look at that. And it was a fishing area. I think you accessed out, and it was quite impressive actually, but it was old and it was a safety issue. So
well, there's the importance of the underpass that was part of the urban renewal process. That was a huge thing. The underpass wouldn't be there if it wasn't for urban renewal.
Huge, yeah.
There's only one more thing I'd like to bring up, and it's the property that's on the east side, and it remains one of the eyesore. It would be a brownfield project, and I know I have talked to the owner several times, and he's been resistant in the past, but maybe there's a point, some resolution on the property. It used to be a Pepsi, or it used to be a bottling company at one time. It's not used, there's no storage, and it's right next to the Domino's facility. I don't know why we didn't extend that wall down all the way to the end of that corner and improving that so it visually wouldn't be impairing any of the people coming into that side of town. But I've also recommended that become one of the projects on the wall dogs. Maybe we can put a mural on that building, put something nice and attractive as people, you won't turn and look as you pass at the rest of the building. Or, condemnation. If a building is structurally unsound and there was a fire, and that's a building that needs to be addressed. And otherwise, that east side of town has made immense improvements over the years, and it's turned into a really nice visual, especially the Sears neon sign on the corner that's lit. Man, what a great addition to that is. So anyway, the Dalles is doing great, and it's moving ahead, and I'm just pleased to be here. That's my
Thank you,
report.
Tim. I think that's this real story of the Urban Renewal Agency, and what's happened in this community is that long list of accomplishments. And thanks for the historic background.
I've got just one more. When we have, like, Sunshine Mill is a success story, and we need to celebrate when they paid that money back. We need to recognize and celebrate and say, this is what can happen as a result of focusing money. And all of you, if you're given a chance, just say something to the folks that own that.
You know, I
That's-
agree with that, Tim, and we never did anything as Urban
No, we
Renewal to
didn't.
acknowledge that. And I think we should. I don't think it's too late for that. I really do think that we should make a point of letting people know that happened.
I wrote to Gibson at the Chronicle, and I suggested that would be a topic of maybe a feel-good news article on a Sunday or whenever they have one of those editions. And I haven't heard back, but at least that recommendation has been made. And if we all kind of focus on that, I think, yeah, they need to be thanked and said, good job. That was a lot of work through COVID pandemic times. And also Todd Carpenter, what an asset. And I'm lucky that you're here. So
Can I make a comment? Sorry.
yes, of course.
So
You-
to the point about the Sunshine Mill, they also employ a ton of people. There's employment taxes. There's you didn't get just the advantage of working with them on the property for property taxes, but it's a benefit to the community through employment, employee taxes, and some of the things that they do for the community too. So that's a huge win. That place has been a huge win for Rehab.
Yeah. I like Councilor Darcy's suggestion that it's not too late. I think we can come back. Maybe we can plan something. I don't know, some type of city celebration to recognize their accomplishment and to thank them. So it's just a thought.
That's a great idea. And it's something where we can help. I think now the media has changed so much that a lot of content has to be provided by the people that want the story to be told. So that's an area where we could write a story or write a news release and get the word out, and maybe it will be picked up a little bit easier. So that's something we can plan as part of our strategic plan. We can highlight our successes. That's a big part of this report card, is saying what we have accomplished and telling our story so that people see the value in what we're doing. I just wanted to say I visited the Dalles a lot in the summer of 1990. I had a reason to be here, and I noticed there wasn't any way to access the river at all from downtown, and it's a huge win to have that underpass. And also I don't remember specifically, but it seems like there was a log dump or something there. So I would sit on the edge, and there were the metal pilings that I would sit on to look out at the river. And wow, what a difference in a few years. It's been quite a change, and a good one. Anything else? And Chair, I'll give the meeting back to you unless there's anything else.
Chair, may I make a quick comment or two? I want to second board member / counselor Tim's thoughts. I thought those were actually some of the same ones I wanted to share. So thank you for being here, Alice. Thanks for the opportunity to review. This is super helpful. Super useful. The building on 2nd and Monroe does need to be addressed. It's been, in my opinion, an eyesore for at least 40 years. And this may well be the agency to help address that. The other comment I was going to, or question rather, I was going to ask is about parking. I've heard that as a reflexive answer from a number of people over the last year or two whenever downtown comes up. And it's puzzling to me, to tell you the truth, and that I can always park within a block or less of where I need to go. So I'm without even parking on First Street. So I guess I don't quite understand the fear that seems to drive people's sort of reflex that we need more parking. So all of that to ask Alice, is there any study that's been done with regard to downtown parking that we could readily draw on? And if not, do you feel like that would be a useful investment in the next few years?
I do not know of a recent plan where we've studied kind of that supply and demand of parking in the Dalles. I think there may have been one, but it's been so far back that people don't know where. Well, I'm sure somebody knows where to find it, and that might be our city clerk.
Done in the transportation plan.
Oh, the TSP, that's correct. That's correct. Okay, so we could draw on that. What I will say is that there is a reason to look at this parking issue, because if we are, as a board, promoting residential development, then we will likely, the city council is going to need to look at its parking policies. Personally, I don't think it's fair. And it's not because of, I get to park on private property, I have permission to do so, but I don't think it's fair for the residential tenants that live in the Honnold building and other places in downtown to be prohibited from parking in the area during daytime hours, to be prohibited from parking on the street in those areas that are exempt from the parking requirements, especially in this COVID time where people were working from home and so forth. So there is a lot of parking demand. There's a jockeying for parking spaces sometimes in the area around the Honnold, and will be, as we get more residential developed in the downtown, there will be more demand for that on-street parking. So it may be one where the council will want to look at its exempt parking area, the boundaries where to either expand or contract the area where off-street parking is not required today. And I can bring that back to the council at some point and the planning commission. And then the other thing we'll want to look at is there are two areas. There's an area that's from exemption. Oh, another area to look at is, this doesn't relate to parking, but it relates to the land use regulations, where we currently require ground floor retail in a very large swath of downtown, where the market may not support that much retail. And so we might need to shrink that and give property owners a lot more flexibility to put other uses on the ground floor, and to really keep our downtown core very focused and concentrated, as opposed to having all these empty storefronts where people can't locate viable businesses. The market may want those to be residential or some other use. So those are some things we ought to be looking at that are outside the realm of urban renewal.
Yes, and we also have been discussing some things that we can't discuss here, Director Cannon, about that might cause us to lose additional parking spaces downtown. And we need to think about that, as well as the fact that we have finite land downtown. And as we are giving that over and possibly selling it or letting people build on it, we lose the future opportunity of putting in a parking garage. And those structures are very expensive now, but they are only getting more and more expensive. And so we may need to be thinking about that longer term too, is what does it save us to do it now, even though we don't need it today? We will need it probably in 50 years or 20 years. So, but we know that there are things coming to take away some of our parking, likely downtown, that maybe not everyone on this board knows about yet.
I'm intrigued. Okay.
Yeah, do you want to
Sorry.
elaborate on that at all?
I can't, right? It was executive session, but you were there, Councilor Richardson.
I was wondering if there were other things not discussed in executive session.
No,
That's
otherwise
all.
I would
All right.
discuss it. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
It's an upside, I guess, of having some land bank. We have those properties that are front out onto First Street that are behind, for instance, the Last Stop Saloon, and that are accessible from the alley. That is that's land bank. Those properties are available today for parking. They're not improved very well. They don't look as pretty as they could in the future, but that's land that's available both to private developers. We may want to convey that to private developers in the future, or we may want to improve it for public parking. So it's a great thing to have extra land available.
Okay, do we have any other questions, discussion on the strategic plan tonight? Seeing none, we move on to board member comments and questions. This can be questions outside of what we just discussed. Do we have anything? If not, we will move to adjournment. We will be meeting again next month, so I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll move, we adjourn.
Second,
I'll second.
moved and second to adjourn the meeting. This meeting of the Columbia Gateway Urban Renewal Agency Board is adjourned.
Thank you all.